Today's video is going to be for anyone who is interested in an alternative to assignment notebooks if you're using those with students. A great digital alternative and something that might keep students more organized and will help them with their work completion is using Google Calendar. Because we know that this messy desk, this happens to a lot of our kiddos who have a lot of trouble staying organized. And sometimes we think that typical assignment notebook will kind of come in and save the day, but others have more needs, and Google Calendar is a great option to connect with parents, connect with the student, connect with you, to have homework attached in the calendar, to have reminders, to have notifications. There's just a lot of options that Google Calendar can do that a typical paper assignment notebook cannot. So for this example, I would be creating the Google Calendar for the student, and then I would share it with myself, the student, the parent, and then we would all be able to see the class schedule for the student, the homework that might be attached to each class, and any other information I wanted to include in the details. If you have students that you think would like this option, that have enough skills where they could create the calendar themselves and then share it and work with it if they went over it with you, then that is a great option as well. So the first thing I'll do is come to My Calendars, the little drop-down arrow to the right. I would click there and select Create New Calendar. So on here I can give it a calendar name, and again, I'm thinking of a specific student, so I would just name it after him. So I would name it Jimmy B's Assignment Notebook. And what's nice about this description part is it's kind of like an about page, so it'll always stay there. So for him, I might put his locker combination in there because at the junior high, that was something he always forgot. I might put in any other reminders that would constantly help him all year long. You can choose as many other details as you like, but the biggest part is how you're going to share it. So right now you can see that I'm the owner. I would enter an email address to share it with Jimmy. So I would put his email address in there, and I can select different permission settings. So for this case, since it's basically his calendar, I would allow him to make changes to events. And then I would add him as a person on the calendar. Now, if I wanted to add his parents or his guardians, I could enter their email address in here as well. But for that, I might leave it set to see all event details before I add them, just so that I know they're being able to view everything rather than changing it. So once I'm finished with that, I can select Create Calendar. And now you can see that Jimmy B's Assignment Notebook Calendar popped up on my left-hand side. So now anything that I enter, I can assign to that specific calendar for him. So one option is to set this up by class. So for example, since he was a middle school student, I could make it an all-day event for each class. So I would click in the box. And for event, I would just put in ELA. And this would be created as an all-day event. So I could go through and do this for each subject or however you want this to work. I might even number these depending on how much help he needed with the schedule. So you could leave it as general subjects, or you could put it as specific time frames. So elementary, if you want to stick to a hard schedule with that, you can put in time frames, but for middle school, that might really help too, because those times don't really change schedule-wise. So I could change it to ELA, 8:15 to 9:45, because we're on the block schedule. I can put in every subject time. I could even go as far as to put in the lunch time for him, because the student I'm thinking of, he was really lost every day with where he was going. So once you have the subjects in there as how you want them to look, however many you want, you can click on each specific event to add more details. So if I wanted to add ELA reminders or homework for him, I could click on ELA, edit event. Now I could make this repeating, so if you want this to show up for every day of the month, you can do that. So you would decide if it repeated weekly, daily, how many days you wanted it to go for. So let's just say I know that he'll often at least need to read every day at home for ELA. So I'm going to select that to be for every day. Done. Enter location. Again, for middle school, I would definitely add this in. So I would put room 511. So then if he ever forgot where ELA was and what time it was at, this would really be a great reminder for him. The adding attachment part is huge because this is where you can directly add in the work that you want your student to finish attached to that subject. So let's say that he had homework for ELA on December 4th, and I want him to be able to see the document, his parent be able to see the document. So I'm going to add the attachment from my drive. So we're working on argument writing, we're working on our drafts. So I'm going to select that, attach it to the calendar. Again, make sure that this draft has a permission set appropriately so that parents can see it if you want them to. But now this is attached for this day for what he needs to get done. You could color code this depending on the student. That could be really helpful. You could add, if the student was the owner of the calendar, you could have it set up notifications for them. So that's all I'm going to do for this one, and then I'm going to save it. So now you'll see since I had ELA repeat every day and I added the location, that popped up into every Monday through Friday on my calendar. And then if I click on ELA where I just added the details, I can see the room location, all the details, and then also the attachment. So if the parent went there, or they could actually just see the details and they could click right on that Google Doc. And then they'll kind of know what their son or daughter is working on. So there are a lot of different options for how you want this to look, but if you think this is something that would help your students and would be a viable option for them at school and at home, and a great way for you, the student, and parents to be on the same page, then this is something you can try out.